Hi you guys, it's Mrs. Palmer. I have had a few of you email me that you need some help with the assignment from today, the simplifying algebraic expressions in ALEKS. The thing that most of you are needing help with is knowing the properties. So I'm going to go through some examples of the questions where you need to know the properties and help you, and then I think you'll be able to do your ALEKS assignment. Okay, so for this first one, what I want you to notice is that you have a C, and then you're adding that to a negative C, and then that cancels each other out, and you end up with a 0. So anytime you're adding something to something else, and it cancels it out and makes a 0, we are going to say that is the additive inverse. Okay, so negative C is what you would add to C to make a 0. Okay, the next one, we're taking A, we're multiplying it by 1, and it keeps its same identity. It stays in A. When you multiply something by 1, it doesn't change it. Okay, so we would say this is the multiplicative identity. Okay, the next one, I want you to notice that we have a set of parentheses here, and on the left side, the 9 times 3 is what we're doing first, and then times n, and on the right side, we're doing the 3 times n first, and then multiplying by 9. So we're changing who we associate with first, and in math, you can do that. You can use parentheses to help you change who you associate with first. That's called the associative property. And this is of multiplication, okay, because the 9, the 3, and the n are all being multiplied together. Okay, now for the next one, we have a 4 right next to a parenthesis, and in math, you guys know that when you have a number next to a parenthesis, that is implied multiplication, and so this 4 has to get multiplied by the d, and then it has to get multiplied by the 8, and that is called the distributive property. Okay, let's look at some more examples here. Okay, the next one, if you have the expression 4 plus 8 plus 9x, and it's simplified in a few different steps, we have to identify what property was used to be able to justify that. So 4 plus 8 plus 9x. Now you can see that in this one, the 8 plus the 9x, those are associating first. But in this one, there was a change of parentheses. And so the 4 plus the 8 would be done first. So the justification for that, being able to add in a different order first, is called the associative property. Okay, and then from here to here, the 4 and the 8 were combined to make 12. The 4 and the 8 are like terms. They're both constants, and we can always combine constants with constants. So that would be combining like terms. That would be the justification for that step. And then from this step to this step, instead of it being 12 plus 9x, it's written as 9x plus 12. So we just changed the order that we were adding in. So anytime you change the order that you're adding in, you can do that because of the commutative property. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, so this one, 6 times 0 is 0. Okay, that one is the 0 property, or the multiplication property of 0. If you multiply 0 by anything, you end up with a 0. Okay, the next one, 2 times 5 times 8, 2 times 5 times 8. So this one, you can see that the 5 and 8 are being multiplied first on the left side and then by the 2. And on the right side, the 2 and 5 are being multiplied first and then by the 8. So that is the associative property. The associative property says it doesn't matter who you associate with first when you are multiplying or adding. Okay, the next one, 1 times 6 equals 6. And so when you multiply 6 by 1, it doesn't change its identity. So this is the multiplicative identity. And then the last one, 7 times 4 is the same as 4 times 7, and that's because the commutative property tells us that we can change the order when we add or when we multiply, and it doesn't change the answer. Okay, so this is another one of those same types of questions as I just did. And then let's look at this last one here. Actually, there's 2 more examples I'm going to do for you. So for this one, to go from this step to this step, the 4 was multiplied by the 5 to get 20, and the 4 was multiplied by the u to get 4u. That is using the distributive property. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the distributive property later this week. Okay, and then for the next step, to go from here to here, we can see that they combined the 4u and the 6u to make 10u. That's called combining like terms. Remember, like terms are terms that have the same variables to the same powers, okay? Combining like terms. And then go from here to here, instead of writing it as 20 plus 10u, it's written as 10u plus 20, and that's because of the commutative property. That's the reason that you're able to do that. The commutative property says that you can add in any order and it doesn't change the answer. Okay, and then the last one, this one right here, when you take y, the thing that you add to y to make a 0 is a negative y. So that is the additive inverse. Okay, that's what you can add to the y to make it a 0. So inverse, that means what's the operation that'll cancel out what's been done. Okay, the next one, you can see the order of the adding just changed. On the left side, it's 5 plus 6, and on the right side, it's 6 plus 5. Anytime you change the order, that when you're adding, that's called the commutative property. And then the last one, you can see that on the left side, the 4 plus x are being added first, and then the 3. And on the right side, the x and the 3 are being added first, and then the 4. So that is changing who you associate with first. So that one is the associative property. So I hope that was helpful. Make sure that you have this assignment done before your math class.